With this trick, a narcissist keeps you shackled forever. Welcome to today's topic, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Coach Tobias Forst, founder of Achilles Life Coaching, decade-long recipient of narcissistic abuse, and I've saved myself from it, and I will support you on your journey to your personal freedom. Today, ladies and gents, we will take a look at a narcissistic magic trick, and we will pull magic from this very hat to illustrate to you what you have been constantly falling for years or decades, and how they do it in order for you now to realize how to spot those markers and to avoid a continuation of that fate. So let's start off with the basic premise. You, looking back now at your past, you wonder how could I have been drawn in to him, to her, to these people again and again and again over years and decades. After all this time, you really don't, with all you see now, you cannot fathom how it could have happened in the first place, let alone repeatedly. We will deal with the general answer to this in the first part. The second part is about how a magic trick works, and when it comes to the narcissistic magic trick, as I call it in this video today, what are the differences and the similarities with similarities? I'm very German right now, sorry. With how a magic trick works. At the end, we will take a closer look as to what qualities such a metaphorical magic hat of the narcissist must fulfill, and what can be drawn out of it so that you fulfill your role, whether you want to or not. Penultimate point, his or her, the narcissist's defenses against your critical thinking and your critique. And what are your strategies in the conclusion? What can you actually do to spot it and to avoid it? So let's get into it. There are a few basic explanations as to why you fell for the narcissist's tricks again and again. First of all, you did not realize, and had not realized for a long time, that you were actually seeing a performance, that you were actually witnessing a trick, and not just some trick, a trick specifically aimed at enticing you to act or not act in a certain way, as the magician desired. You were unaware that there was a much darker, sinister, and highly different motivation behind the trick than you expected that it had. In addition to you not realizing that it in fact was a trick. You believed them, ladies and gentlemen. You believed the stories that they told you. So how does a magic trick work? A magic trick consists of three parts: the pledge, the turn, and the prestige. The pledge is the basic premise of the setting of the trick. For example, a magician shows you a pigeon. In the turn, he shows you something common, something usual. In the turn, the magician does something uncommon, something unusual with the common, with the usual. For example, making the pigeon disappear. And in the prestige, that which grants the magician prestige, if you will, he does something even more unexpected with the uncommon element of the turn. For example, making the just disappeared pigeon reappear. The pledge, the turn, the prestige. Now in comes the narcissist. Enter enter the narcissist with a trick that is aimed just for you. There's the pledge. The pledge is something common, like a story of her success or her suffering or her ailments or his problems or the difficult childhood. The list is much longer and much more extensive than that. See this as creatively as you wish. Then comes the turn. The turn is making you act in a desired way that you would not have had you not been presented with the common, the usual from the pledge. The turn extrapolates something from you. Attention, validation, tolerance, an action, a specific desired inaction. Ladies, careful. Your mother instinct is to be triggered. Gentlemen, be mindful. Your protector instinct might be aimed at being triggered. So this is the reappearance of the pigeon, if you will. And then we come to the narcissistic prestige. What is that? What's the most unusual that he can do with the unusual he just created? The prestige is that you believe that you're actually in reality. You see no trick at all anywhere. You believe every word. You conduct every action desired. You grant them what they wished for. You don't know you are walking in fairyland with every word that they confuse you with. It's about your bonding to them. It's about your attention, and it's about your continuous lack of realization of what's actually going on. The fantasy is being presented as reality, and you've bought into it wholesale. So let's get to the magic hat. What does the narcissist need the metaphorical hat for? This hat, first of all, must fulfill 4 criteria. It must be universally available. That metaphorical hat that he can draw ideas from, stories from, must be present at his very whim when he needs it most. Which is usually, ladies and gentlemen, when you don't pay attention. It's usually then when the hat comes into play, when your attention is elsewhere, when he or she feels neglected. So it needs to be universally available. That's number 1. The second is, it needs to be thematically all-encompassing. Whatever idea he has, this is where it's in. Number 3, it needs to be creatively moldable. Whatever he pulls out needs to have the quality of being molded to adapted to the current situation and the people around that require manipulation at this very point in time. And number 4 is, in my opinion, the most important, ladies and gentlemen. Number 4 is that it is neither provable nor disprovable what he tells you, what he pulls from the hat. Let's get right into it. You haven't been paying attention to him or her. So here she is, with the hat. because you need to pay attention right now. Because it's all about the dead brother. Still not paying attention? Okay, here goes. The heavy accident. The accident. Remember the accident. Whatever happened. She will be in great detail again for the 28th time. Yeah, I know you've heard. She knows you've heard. But eyes here. Eyes here. This is where it's at. Regardless of the surroundings, is this the wedding of somebody else? Doesn't matter. She is speaking to you right now. And there are more stories. Whatever else is there. The abuse back in the day. Don't forget the abuse, and the story unfolds. If that's not enough, or if she feels creative, there comes something else, like no love from mommy. Then we go ahead, or she or he goes ahead with the death of his father. Last but not least, let's see whatever else is in there. The death of mother. Heard it for the 31st time? Don't care. Because you need to listen. You need to pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. It's about nobody else but the false god. That constructed fake persona that's trying to lure you in yet again. Now, many of you are already at a stage of seeing narcissism in people for what it is and how to deal with it. And you've reacquired your gift of critical thinking, which is nothing short of a very precise and sharp weapon against narcissistic abuse. Critical thinking. So there are certain defenses when you doubt this. For example, he told you about a situation in his former hometown about whatever else happened to his cousin yesterday night. And it makes him very sad and agitated and whatever else he can conjure up for a few seconds. And you say, that must have been in the press. His accident of yours, this attack that while he was attacked in his car, this must be in the press of Hamburg City. Are there any pictures online? You want to see proof, ladies and gentlemen, because you've heard a similar story countless times over the past months and years. And now you are threatening the image, the facade. You will receive narcissistic rage now. How dare you not believe me? Shall I show him my cousin, shall I show you a picture of him in his misery being beaten or whatever in his car in the accident and what they did to him? Yes, you would like to know. But he's not ready to give that to you because he cannot, because it never happened. You saw through the trick, you saw through the fake reality as the trick it was, and you want to see the receipts. But he cannot show them, he cannot accept that he was just caught in the act of lying. A different attempt to offer you a reproach would be that she's very, very disappointed in you for not believing what she has to say, what she's finally open to sharing with you. And this is how you treat her. Or if tables were turned and you were in her place, wouldn't you want someone to just listen to you without being judgmental and asking these silly and immoral questions? There was nothing immoral about you wanting to know. But how dare you challenge the facade? So what's your strategy, ladies and gentlemen? Remember one thing before we go into detail. every stage magician on this planet lets you know that he acts as a stage magician on this planet. They're being paid for what they do. You know it's a trick, whether you find out how it works or not. You know the context. You know that it is a trick. You are not being tricked into thinking it is not a trick. But the narcissistic conjurers are a very different breed. You think it's free witnessing that. You pay so much more and over such a long time that you sometimes even forget when it actually started. Moreover, they present the fake, the trick to you as if it were reality. So what it is that you could do in the future to avoid this? Listen. Listen with the will to understand, collect information and data points, and think them through. Feel what you feel about them. What does your gut tell you? What does your mind tell you? What does the coordination of the two yield as results and insights for you? Is there an MO, a modus operandi, a way of behavior, a way of acting out something distinguishable, discernible in him or in her? Is this the 25th time that you're hearing more or less the same story? When does that story come up? Under what circumstances? When attention for him or her is waning. So it needs a waxing. And there comes the story. Or this, or whatever story. It's always then. And when you realize this, ladies and gents, I can recommend to you one thing. Over, out, cut, and end this relationship, whatever type of relationship it is, and get out and stay out. Because you've reached a point where you're being duped and you're saying, thank you, sir, thank you, ma'am. We're closed for today.